If Robert Baratheon's rebellion had failed, the course of Westerosi history would have been forever altered. The battle that determined the fate of the realm was brutal, fought in the mud and blood of the Trident. The banners of House Targaryen, displaying the three-headed dragon, snapped defiantly in the wind against the sigils of the rebellion. The crowned stag, the direwolf, the trout, and the falcon. It was here that the fate of the rebellion would be sealed. Rhaegar Targaryen, clad in black armor inlaid with rubies, sat astride his pale destrier, his sword dripping with the blood of a fallen Baratheon bannerman. The battle raged around him, but his focus was drawn to a lone figure striding through the chaos. Robert Baratheon, the Stormlord himself, was coming for him. Blood seeped through Robert's armor, staining his surcoat, but his warhammer remained steady in his grasp. With a furious bellow, he demanded to face Rhaegar, demanding to know where Lyanna Stark was. Rhaegar, calm and composed, dismounted his horse, meeting Robert's challenge. The duel that followed was legendary. Robert fought with the strength of a tempest, his warhammer crashing down like thunder, each blow seeking to end Rhaegar's life. But the prince was swift and precise, dodging, parrying, striking when openings appeared. Blood was drawn on both sides, but Robert's wounds slowed him. His rage burned bright, but his body betrayed him. In the final moment, as Robert lifted his hammer once more, Rhaegar sidestepped and drove his sword into the rebel leader's chest. Robert's warhammer fell from his grasp, sinking into the mud, his body collapsing beside it. The battlefield fell silent. As Robert's army witnessed their leader's fall, panic spread through the ranks. Cries of despair filled the air as men fled, their rebellion shattered. The Targaryen forces surged forward, claiming victory. Rhaegar stood over Robert's lifeless body, murmuring, "Lyanna is safe." Sir Barristan Selmy, his white armor stained with blood, approached and declared the battle won. But for Rhaegar, the war was not yet over. With his victory secured, Rhaegar turned his gaze toward King's Landing. Gathering his most loyal men, he rode back to the capital, only to find Tywin Lannister and his forces awaiting him. News of Robert's death had already reached them, and the Lion of the West wasted no time in pledging his allegiance to the victorious prince. By the time they arrived at the capital, the gates of the Red Keep were thrown open in welcome. King Aerys II, the Mad King, greeted his son with manic delight, declaring his victory a triumph for House Targaryen. Yet when Rhaegar refused to kneel, the king's joy turned to rage. The son had no love left for the father who had brought ruin to their house. He declared Aerys unfit to rule. Tywin Lannister, ever pragmatic, supported Rhaegar's claim, ordering Aerys to step down. But the Mad King, unwilling to surrender his throne, ordered Jaime Lannister, his Kingsguard, to execute the supposed traitors. Jaime, however, had seen too much. The horrors Aerys had inflicted on the realm, the fire and blood he had spilled in his paranoia, had shattered his sense of duty. With a simple word, "No," he defied the king. When Aerys shrieked and frothed at the mouth, demanding his death, Jaime acted. He grabbed the Mad Monarch, and as the king thrashed on the ground, he was finally removed from power. Rhaegar, with cold resolve, stepped forward and took his seat upon the Iron Throne. From that moment, a new era began. Rhaegar summoned his loyalists and consolidated his rule. His first act was to recall Jon Connington from exile, followed by securing the return of his mother and siblings from Dragonstone. Most significantly, he sent for Lyanna Stark, who remained under the protection of the King's Guard at the Tower of Joy. The rebel lords, now leaderless, surrendered one by one. The Stormlands fell first, followed by the Riverlands and the Vale. Even Ned Stark, after much hesitation, bent the knee, though his heart remained heavy with grief. Seeking to mend the wounds inflicted by his father, Rhaegar condemned Aerys' crimes, publicly apologizing to the families of those burned by the Mad King. He personally returned the ashes of Rickard and Brandon Stark to Winterfell, though Ned accepted them with a stony silence. But it was Rhaegar's next act that would reshape the realm. His declaration that he would take 2 wives, Following the example of Aegon the Conqueror, Lyanna Stark would be his second queen, alongside Elia Martell. With his rule secured, Rhaegar turned his focus inward. While he left the governance of the realm largely to Tywin Lannister, he himself became obsessed with prophecy. The Song of Ice and Fire haunted his thoughts, leading him to seek knowledge of the ancient past. Scholars and maesters were dispatched across the world, seeking lost knowledge from Valyria, Asshai, and beyond. Among the many who came to his court was a red-haired woman named Melisandre, a priestess from the east who spoke of visions in the flames, foretelling a great darkness from the north. Rhaegar took her words to heart. Though many dismissed her as a fanatic, the prince-turned-king saw meaning in her warnings. He ordered the Night's Watch to be reinforced, demanding every house in Westeros supply men to the wall. He diverted grain and resources northward, believing the true battle had yet to come. However, his paranoia and obsession with prophecy soon strained the realm. The people grew restless under the weight of new demands, and even Tywin Lannister began to question Rhaegar's rule. Tensions reached a breaking point when Rhaegar declared his son by Lyanna, Aegon of the North, to be his heir over his son with Elia. To the Dornish this was an unforgivable insult. Dorne declared for Elia's son, whom they crowned Aegon of Dorne. Alliances shifted as the realm fractured. The Stormlands, still bitter over Robert's death, sided with Dorne. The Greyjoys, ever opportunistic, joined in rebellion, and Tywin, feeling his influence waning, took drastic action, declaring Rhaegar's younger brother Viserys the rightful king. The Seven Kingdoms once again descended into war. Rhaegar, ever the warrior, led his forces into battle. He proved himself a formidable commander, striking swiftly against Tywin while his generals clashed with the Dornish and the Ironborn. As its people enjoyed a rare moment harried the Martells in the Boneway, by war, while Sir Arthur Dayne led a devastating campaign against the Stormlord. The war was unlike any Westeros had seen but urgent message, a conflict that the time has come against former allies to Hardhome, a war that would decide the fate of the Targaryen dynasty once and for what lies beyond the wall. As the fires of war consumed the Seven Kingdom camps, one thing became clear: sounds echoing through the forests. Though Rhaegar had won the Trident, most disturbing his true battle had only just vanished without a trace. The wildling emissaries who have been welcomed south tell similar tales: shadows creeping through the woods, entire families disappearing in the dead of night, and the dead rising to walk again. This is all the proof Lord Eddard Stark needs. The North must act. He gathers his banners and marches for the wall. There they are met by an unexpected force, prisoners taken during the War of the Three Dragons. Among them stand some of the most powerful lords of Westeros: Tytos Blackwood, Tywin Lannister, Loras Tyrell, Oberyn Martell, and Renly Baratheon. Ned cannot help but wonder if Rhaegar allowed them to be captured for this very reason, to unite them against the true enemy. As they advance beyond the wall, their numbers grow. Mance Rayder and his wildlings eagerly join the cause, spurred on by the promises made by Rhaegar. Their march takes them to Hardhome, where they find little more than ruins, a scattering of broken huts clinging to windswept cliffs. Despite the desolation, they work tirelessly, fortifying the settlement in preparation for Rhaegar's arrival. Days pass before the fleet finally appears on the horizon, yet Rhaegar is nowhere to be seen. Instead, a deafening roar shakes the ground. Men scramble for their weapons as a massive dragon, black as the abyss, soars above them. The beast circles before descending, its great wings folding as it lets out another earth-shaking bellow. Atop its back sits King Rhaegar. Tonight, we fight not for thrones or crowns, but for life itself. As if in answer, the forest erupts. The dead surge forth in an unholy tide, their empty eyes glowing an eerie blue. White Walkers march among them, their presence bringing an unnatural chill to the battlefield. Melisandre steps forward, chanting in High Valyrian. Light bursts from her hands, igniting the swords of the living in flame. The battle begins. The firelit blades carve through whites, their charred remains crumbling to the frozen earth. Wildlings fight like demons, their axes and spears spinning in a desperate dance. But the dead are endless. Each fallen wight is replaced by another. At the front of the battle, Ned Stark fights with ice in hand, the great sword glowing with an otherworldly light as it cleaves through the undead. But the tide is relentless. A white walker steps forward, its frost-coated blade clashing against ice, sending Ned staggering. The cold steel finds his shoulder, and he drops to his knees. Before the white walker can finish him, Aegon leaps in, plunging a Valyrian steel dagger into the creature's neck. It shatters into dust. He rushes to his uncle's side, but Ned presses ice into his hands. "Take it. Do what must be done." Aegon does not hesitate. He charges forward, rallying the men. He moves like a whirlwind, striking with supernatural speed. Wherever the lines falter, he is there, strengthening them. At his side, Sir Barristan Selmy and Jaime Lannister fight like wraiths, cutting down whites in deadly arcs. Above, Rhaegar rains dragonfire upon the undead, his great beast scorching entire ranks of whites. The defenders hold. But high above the cliffs, the Night King watches. Slowly, he raises his spear. With unerring accuracy, he hurls it. The spear strikes Rhaegar's dragon in the chest. The beast shrieks in agony before plummeting from the sky, crashing into the battlefield. Jon Connington rushes to Rhaegar's side, pulling the wounded king from the dying dragon. With no choice left, Rhaegar gives the order, "Retreat." Dane signals the withdrawal. Their forces break into pre-planned escape routes, some retreating back toward the wall, others boarding ships. But Rhaegar and Aegon do not flee. They board the flagship as the Night King approaches. The undead king reaches out, raising his arms. The fallen dragon stirs, its body twisting as it rises once more. Now under the Night King's command. Aegon only smiles, his sword ready. Then the dragon unleashes its fire. But instead of ordinary flames, the ship erupts in green fire, wildfire, hidden aboard all along. The inferno engulfs the battlefield, sweeping over the dead in an unstoppable blaze. The Night King is caught in the heart of the fire, his icy form cracks and shatters, vanishing into the emerald flames along with his army. From the safety of the sea and the distant woods, the survivors watch in awe. Even from the wall the flames are visible, burning like a second sun on the earth. But as the fire begins to die, a lone figure emerges, unscathed by the flames. Rhaegar Targaryen. Slowly Ned Stark drops to his knees. One by one, the lords follow. But hail Aegon VI, the prince who was promised. With the battle won, Aegon returns to King's Landing to rebuild. He sees the work his father did to prepare for the long night, but he also sees his failings. To unite the realm, he names his surviving sister, Rhaenys, as his heir. He pardons those punished in the War of the Three Dragons, allowing them to return home. But unlike his father, Aegon vows to rule differently, to take an active role in shaping the realm's future. As for Rhaegar, his fate remains a mystery. Some say he perished in the flames alongside the Night King. Others whisper that he survived, vanishing into the wilds beyond the wall. Soon after, Lyanna Stark disappears as well. Some believe they left so that their son could rule without their shadow looming over him. And so a new era begins. That is our theory. Westeros is a land filled with thrilling possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you enjoyed this journey, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more stories from the Seven Kingdoms and beyond.